Now we have the next speaker. She is uh, Madeeha Khan, and she is working in IBM, and she's from Pakistan. So she is an experienced and qualified software project management trainer, consultant, and mentor. She is into project management as a strategic enabler for business excellence in current business world of agility, empowering teams for fostering agile mindset and compassionate leadership to meet the organization goals of sustainable performance, profitability, employees engagement, and client satisfaction. Um, Apart from that, uh, she is the first and only Pakistani speaker and jury member in most influential conferences for Agile and Scrum community across UK, USA, Ireland, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Nigeria, and Portugal. So today she's here to speak on the topic of conflict management, which happens in any environment, and she will help us to understand how we can resolve these. Yeah. Welcome, Medina.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Bhakti. Thank you so much for introducing me.
Welcome.
So I'm just, yes, going to share my screen first. Or is it going to be shared by you, Bhakti? Let me confirm.
No, I think you will be sharing.
Okay, that's fine then. Yep, great. Okay, so good morning, everyone. And I'm very excited to be here. Thanks to Women in Agile, and thanks to all of you being here as part of Women in Agile conference in year 2021, which is the year, let's say, where we are all connected virtually. And I think we all have been into this process of learning that what is the life while we are having this pandemic of COVID. So first of all, I would like to exchange our introduction, that where you are going to know me and then I'm going to know you also. So Bhakti has covered everything. And one thing which I want to mention about myself would be that everything which I do, I'm having this passion of doing it for the people empowerment and eventually to empower the organizations and to this planet. So I have been working into this space for 13 years. And yes, my journey has been a journey of transformation and also living the growth mindset, and many of the things which I'm going to share here today with all of you. So now I want to know you people also. And if you want, you can share it into the chat section that where you are from and yes, what do you do? And also when I'm asking that why I want to know my audience, because I want to relate it with my topic, which is going to be conflict management. And yes, conflict happens everywhere. It depends that how we are going to manage it, or are we going to avoid it, if that is the option we have. So yes, some people can be you can belong to different regions, and some of you will be, let's say, like, having a journey into your career. Some have just started it, and some are like working for 5 years or 10 years. And some people can be here who are introvert and who are extrovert. So these are different personality types. And I just want to share with all of you, to with all my listeners, that whether you are introvert or extrovert, it's all right. Because sometimes we are having, when we were talking about this unconscious bias also, which Shakti has covered, that sometimes we think that if we are having this one personality type and we are not having the other personality type, then maybe we are different in a ways which are not empowering. But this is what I want to address today, that you all are one in, like, this population of 7.7 billion, and everyone is unique. And that is regardless that what personality type we are having. So yes, my goals for today from this topic is that first we learn that how does this conflict happen even. Because some people think that all right, we can simply avoid it, but sometimes it is going to happen, and then you are going to we are going to see that, okay, how to deal with it. So to understand that, like, what is conflict, that is the first goal. And then to understand that how does it happen and why does it happen, and what can be the causes behind it, to understand that, having a deep dive into it. And then also, once it has happened, how we are going to manage it. So there will be certain highlights in my talk, which I'm going to cover. We are going to cover the dysfunctions of the team, that when conflict happens and how it can arise into a team, what can be the factors behind it. Then there are, of course, once conflict has happened, so how we can manage it. So I'm going to cover those certain styles of conflict management. These are five. We are going to see it into the details. And since I happen to be NLP coach, which is neuro linguistic programming, and so I'm going to cover that. And basically, yes, I want to share, because last day someone contacted me and they were asking, Madeeha, is it the same as natural language processing, because these acronyms are the same. But then I told them that, okay, there's this difference. And then we can see that what is NLP in terms of neuro linguistic programming. And yes, when it comes to a topic like conflict management, so then I'm going to cover that how one can be a good listener, uh, towards managing the conflict, and also to see that what is our emotional intelligence that we can use, how can we be more mindful, and to empower ourselves so that we can manage those conflicts, and to be able to even realize that there is a conflict happening, and maybe there is a potential that it is happening and we do not even realize it. So now I'm going to engage all of you, and yes, you can again share into the chat section, or if you want, you can unmute yourself and let me know. So what is conflict for you? If anyone would like to unmute themselves, feel free to do it, or you can mention into the chat section also. So even when we are going to talk about that, what is conflict and what is this, like, what is your understanding, then everyone is going to have different understanding about it. For some it is going to be, let's say, a compromise, and for some it is about, like, a disagreement. Yes, thanks. I'm seeing the chat also. Yes, it's about risk taking also, and not getting your needs meet. So that happens. And yes, okay, I'm reading ambivert. Yes, that is also a personality type. And as I told, that it's all right. Any personality type which you are having, this is like, this is all right. And like, it's all the same that way, that every personality type is like, having their own approach, that how they are going to manage the conflict. So yes, Sabal, it's a conflict. It's a clash between individuals around having a difference of thought. So yes, and here, simply the conflict is a clash of interest, and yes, the difference of the opinions, and then to see that either are we going to embrace it. So then, of course, conflict will not happen. But when we are not embracing that other people in the same room can have, let's say, a opposite opinion than what we are saying, so either are we going to agree or either are we going to disagree. So once we have seen what is conflict, we are going to see that, okay, what can be, like, different factors. So there is implicit conflict which can happen, and that is the one which sometimes we do not realize. And that can happen, let's say, when we are having difference of culture. So here I use this example that, when I'm a Pakistani, I'm based in a city, Lahore. So if I even go to other city, there is a culture of this other cities having in my own country. And let's say there is a Pakistani who was also based in Lahore city, where I have been brought up. So now there is some person who is sitting in another country. He's also Pakistani and he's having the same background of living in my city. But right now, when that person is sitting into a different country, so so there is the there can be the difference of culture, even with the person with whom we are having certain, let's say, resonation of our culture. And then next is language, because each language in each region is different, and sometimes one word in one country language or one region language can be different for other people, and some words can have different connotations and associations. For some words it is going to be positive and empowering, but in some countries some words wouldn't be considered that empowered or that positive. So also there's the difference of society values for every country, for every region, for, let's say, if we are talking about, like, these details. So if everyone is having their own family system, so there are certain values which can vary. So even when it comes to my own country, so if we are going to talk about society values, so for the uh, urban cities it's different, and there will be certain values which you go to the countryside that will be different. And then yes, if we are going to use jargons in our communication, so that can be comprehended differently. So this one thing which I learned, that we need to ensure that what we are communicating, is it being understood by the other person in the same way or not. And then it is on us, and it is also on other person to understand that what we are saying, are they understanding the same, or can there be a gap, and how we can put the effort to cover that gap. So yes, now we are going to see that how not to have the conflict, and what we can do. So yes, here I'm going to need your engagement again, and thanks for this. So I'm going to make certain statements, and then you are going to tell me if you agree with me as yes or no. That is very simple. But yes, if something comes, and if you say you want to take time even before saying yes or no, you can put into the comments. So do you agree that sky is pink? I'm going to see the chat now. Is it a yes or is it a no? All right, thank you. I see a no. Okay, one says could be sometimes, right? Okay. So next is, yes, right now the sky is dark where I am, and it could be pink where you are. All right. Thank you, Sheila, for this. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Okay. So next is the sky. My sky is yellow. Do you agree? Yes or no? My sky is yellow. Okay. Great. I see. So, okay. That's nice. I listen. Yes, because you said so. Okay. So the next is, and that's the last color, which we are going to talk about. That the sky is green. The sky is green. Is that a yes or no? If there is any no, do let me know into the. Okay, that is least possible. I have never seen that. All right, listen. Okay, okay, that's. Thank you so much for, your input. That sky cannot be green. It's all right. Okay, so what happened here? And now I think before go on into the further discussion, I want to share something for all of you. Just stay tuned. Okay. So do you see this? Okay. Thank you, Sheila. You just reached there. That are you seeing the aurora? Yeah. So yes, sky can be green, and that is real natural phenomena. And yeah, it happens in different countries, like which are based into the upper north. And one of them is this northern side of Norway country itself. And I've heard it happens in Finland also, and it happens in some states in US too. So now what happened here? Now I'll come back to my this screen. That when I was sharing that sky can be pink or yellow or green. So on pink and yellow, yes, I got some yes, but on green I got all the no's. So what happened here, that yes, it was simply that I made one statement, and like, when I asked that, okay, you can say yes or no. So people directly said it, and some said, okay, could be. And but what happened, like, did anyone ask me that, Madiha, why are you saying that, like, what can be the sky color, or to ask me the questions? Because neither I put the effort to make you understand this, right? And nor anyone asked me that, okay, Madia, why are you saying? Because what if I'm putting some colored glasses, and that is something which I'm wearing all my life, let's say, right? So my sky color can be different, because if I haven't taken those glasses from my eyes, then my sky color can be different, or anything which I'm going to see here. So it's like this screen can be even pink if I'm putting pink glasses on my eyes. And then when it comes to, like, these other colors, so like this is one point where we can be like, we can think about how we can be more inclusive. So it's about, even I was working on one project where we were like, we were very explicit to take care that, are we going to help colorblind people also? Because some people can be colorblind, so the colors which we are using, um, are they going to be compatible with this? Thank you, Alison, for your input. And so yes, and that way now I can see that many applications which we are working, because like, I see that many of us are working into this agile space. And when it comes to about the user experience, to offer them, then we are supposed to see that how we can improve it. So I have seen many examples recently, that now we are talking about that people who are deaf, how they can access our applications, like, these mobile applications, if we are talking about. And even these are the, let's say, the daily use applications which we are using. If someone is blind, how they can, like, access this. And that is this inclusivity we are talking about. And if we are not catering it, then yes, like, we can go into a situation where it can be a potential conflict like this. And yes. So now when it comes to, like, even sky is green, so this is there. Now I put the effort that, okay, I can share that, okay, this is true, that the sky can be green also. So here what happened, that it's about respecting everyone's model of the world. And sometimes people are having their own background, that why they are saying it. But let's say, if I talk about being colorblind, or let's say there is something, like, very specific, which is just, like, I'm having some issue, and then I cannot see all the colors, and I'm not talking about colorblind, I'm just, like, overall talking about this scenario. So what happens, I do not want to share my weakness with anyone, and that's a baggage which I'm carrying, or that's some issue which I'm carrying, or let's say it's something temporary with me, but I do not want to share with other people. So what happened, then I will not explain it, because I'm not comfortable. So it's about that other people who are listening to me and my statements, if they can respect my model of the world, that, okay, Madhya, if you are saying your sky can be pink, maybe it can be green, or it can be yellow. So when we are going to apply this, that we can respect everyone's model of the world, provided it is about that their model of the world is ecologically correct at all levels. And so when it comes to ecologically correct, that means that, is it, like, it is not harmful for them, it is not harmful for others, it is not harmful for the society or the planet. So it is, like, correct at all levels. Because when we talk about that, what is right and what is not right, that can also be different across the world. Everyone is having their own perceptions, but some things are, like, they are the ultimate universal truth, so they are going to be the right everywhere that way. So if we are just going to implement this one thing, that when we are listening something, we simply respect it and we listen as it is, rather we because what happens, this is human nature, that we want that everyone agrees with us, and we want to correct those people. So what if we do not correct, and because if my sky is pink and other people's sky is green, I think we all can go through it, we all can live with it, right? Because I'm happy that my sky is of other color. And the same way that it's about my perception and other people perception, that unless it is going to have a conflict, And let's say we are going to make one statement at some forum, so then that is there, are we going to agree that, like, or what can be everyone's perception or not. So that way it is fine that we can manage it and we can accept everyone's reality or perception as it is that way. So yes, now I will be moving forward into the details of conflict, that, like, what can happen, what is the impact, and what can be the reason. So when it comes to teams, and especially if we are all working into agile teams, and if even like, some of us are working into hybrid teams, so this can be applicable in all, like, variants of those teams. So like, my question is, like, is conflict bad itself? Yes or no? Like, shall we have conflict at times or not? So most of the time we think that no, we shall not have the conflict, because conflict itself is having a word that can be like, having a negative connotation. But yes, I'm glad to see some yes, that yes, we can have the conflict when it is needed, because it adds flavors to the solution. And that is exactly, Bhakti, what I'm going to talk about here. So what happens, like, if a team is not having a trust on each other, so they will not be sharing opinions, because they will be having this fear that we will not be heard and we will not be respected about our difference of opinions. And that is why we are having this fear of conflict, that if, like, there is a brainstorming session towards solving a problem, and so what will happen, that like, this is not going to be listened, so there is no point that I'm going to share my opinion, let's say. And so this is what this person is thinking into a team. And when you are not trusting your team members, you are not sharing your opinion, you are not putting your voice, because you are having this concern that it can lead into the conflict. And when it happens, so what will happen, that other people have made their voices and their opinions are heard, and let's say now they are going to be implemented towards solving a problem. So when I as a team member have not give my input, then I'm not going to commit to it. I will not having the feeling that I belong to this, because there was something else in my mind, there was some other solution in my mind, an alternative, but I never put on the table. So when I'm not going to commit to it, then I will not feel like, accountable towards it. And when I'm not feeling that I belong to working towards this team or towards this solution, then I'm not accountable. I will not feel it. And also, I'm not going to put my whole focus and attention towards the results and towards the outcomes. So eventually, what will happen, that, like, the team is not going to having the optimized work. The team is not going to deliver as they are supposed to or as they wanted to, because somewhere there was the gap within this team. And yes, when I see one, like, this amazing comment by Brittany, that difference of opinion can ignite innovation and form trust between people. So yes, that is what is a good side, and that is how a team can be functional, and this is how you can bring the trust to it, and you can still have different opinions, and to embrace it, to listen it, and to make other person feel heard also. So otherwise, that this is going to lead towards this dysfunctioning of a team if any component is missing here that way. So this is a model by Patrick Leonici, and if you want, we can discuss it further later also. Now I'm going to share, like, once this conflict has happened, that what can be different ways that we can manage it. So it is a model by Thomas Kuhlman. It's a conflict, like, model, and this is based on that how assertive you are, that only you as a person going to focus on your own needs and your own desired outcomes if you are sitting into a team, or are you willing to cooperate also, that where you are going to focus on other people need and mutual relationships. So here I want to word this, like, word that how compassionate you are towards other people who are on the table. And that this is what you can use in any of the discussion, whether you are having at work or whether you are having into an any informal setup, because conflicts happen into our personal life also. So what is going to happen, that either are we, like, are we more assertive, and we are not going to focus on, like, being cooperative. Then of course we will see that either are we going to avoid it, or we are going to force our opinion and our solution, or are we going to find a middle way, which is known as this, like, this middle ground. Are we going to compromise? So, or also what we can see that, how about we collaborate and co-create, and let's solve this problem together. So that is where, yes, like, we want the desired outcomes at the both levels, and also to ensure to save our relationships, like, these working relationships, and also to see that this is going to meet my needs, this is going to meet other people's needs, so let's collaborate and see what is going to happen. So now there is the impact when we are seeing these, like, five different styles of conflict management, and which I'm going to cover here, that if we are going to avoid, uh, like, or withdraw our like, from ourselves, that we are not going to resolve our conflict. So we sometimes we are simply avoiding it because, let's say, we will wait that either it is going to be postponed, or maybe other people join in and they resolve this conflict. Rather, I as a person who is having a conflict with other person is directly intervening to it. So that is one side. But of course, like, what is the impact of this? And then when it comes to accommodating, compromising, are like, these conflicts. So what is going to happen? Since I have covered this, so I will be moving towards our next point, that what is the effect and impact. So when we are withdrawing, like, ourselves from a conflict, so the conflict is not going to solve, the problem is not going to solve as it is, right? And of course then it is not going to serve any of the people. So what, like, what is the other, like, impact if we are going to accommodate, like, being cooperative, and we are fine with, like, of being less assertive but more cooperative. So yes, what will happen, this is going to provide you only short term solution, because eventually somewhere this is going to be, like, this one person has like, holding themselves back and their opinions, and that is their, they think that, okay, like, we are only seeing that what areas we can agree, and we are not talking about the differences. So when we are not resolving those differences, then maybe it can happen in another team meeting, maybe it can happen in another problem, like, solving situation. So so that's why when we go towards this ultimate solution, which is problem solving, which is on the top here in the green color, if you see, so that is going to provide you ultimate resolution for all the times, and that is the long term also. Because when we talk about compromising, or like, these forcing situations, that where we are forcing our opinion, so when it comes to compromising a situation, then of course this is going to provide a, like, a resolution, but again this is not going to be the long term, and again these situations can reoccur. And when it comes to forcing, of course, like, the other people will be having the hard feelings. When it comes to collaboration, it can be long term, and I was talking about problem solving, then it is the long term, and this is, like, the ultimate solution. That what teams are going to do, that they are putting all the opinions, and they are going to solve the problem by considering all those alternatives. So it's not about that, okay, only one person or one team is putting their opinions and they are being heard, but every team member from every team is going to like, share their opinions, and they will be considered. Okay. So now I'm going to talk about neurolinguistic programming, because we have seen that what is conflict, how does it happen, and how we can make sure that it shall not happen. And if it has happened, then what we can do about it. So here I want to, yes, I'm just reading Brittany comment also. Thank you. Yes, Brittany. This is how we can, like, always trust and understand each other, by understanding these, like, these all situations and scenarios. Okay, so when it comes to neurolinguistic programming, it is about understanding. that how does our brain works, and once we understand that how our brain works and what are our patterns, what are our habits, then we can also understand that how other people can, like, put their opinions, and how they can like, treat and behave a certain situation. So it is about, let's say, like, if I know that am I a good listener or not, or I just focus that people shall listen me, then it's a pattern which I can observe about myself. And then what I can do once I understand, having the self awareness mindset, which, like, our earlier fellow was talking about, that how you can be self aware. And this also covers that what conscious efforts we are making, and what unconscious biases, or let's say some assumptions, we can take care. So that was a very good example which she shared, Shakti, right? If I remember it correctly. So Shakti shared it with us. So when it comes that, okay, like, if we are listening something and someone is talking to us, is it what kind of level it is? Because listening comes with certain levels, and mostly I think, like, we like, some people even did not know that listening is having certain levels. And what we do, we just listen so that when someone is communicating to us, so we listen so that maybe we can share our input, but not every time that person is sharing their opinion so that they want our opinion. And yes, within communication doesn't mean that only we are speaking or we are talking, but it's about how we are, like, listening and making other people feel being heard. So first is information listening, that is listening to learn. And that is, let's say, okay, if we are talking about news, if you are, like, listening it, watching it on the TV, and that is about the weather, so you just want to know the what is the weather forecast, right? Because now, like, how you are going to process that information. But what is critical listening? That, okay, you are listening to a certain situation, and then you are going to evaluate and analyze. This is where your input is, let's say, being asked. And the next is empathetic listening or therapeutic listening. And this is where that when we are making other person, like, feel that, okay, we are listening and we are also, like, understanding your feelings. So now it's my question. It's all right if you people answer, but this is what one moment you all can take to think, that you all are having someone in your life to whom you talk, and you talk about everything, right? So whether it's, like, your personal like life matters, or whether it's, like, something about your work. And even maybe you are having some colleague, you are sharing everything about your work, because some of us are having our mentors, some of us are having our coaches. And then we know that, all right, this is the person is going to listen to me. And not every time we are, like, telling them our situation to need some advice or some suggestion. But it is just that when something happens, let's say a very good moment, a happy moment, or a moment where we are not feeling very empowered, then we are going to speak to that person, or we are, let's say, we are just dropping a message to that person that this is how my, like, day is happening. So why you are choosing that one person, it can be one, it can be two, it can be three, it all depends. And yes, it's not necessary that it's a person. Sometimes we are also, like, we are having this self talk. Sometimes I know some people just talk to themselves, some people talk to, like, different objectives. It depends that, like, what is their association with it. And so what happens, like, why we are doing it? Because we have the feeling, or we have this association that this person is listening to us. Or let's say, like, that we know that, okay, whatever we are sharing, this is being listened, and this is being, like, trusted. So that is why we are doing it. So it's about that when conflict is happening, we shall know that how do we behave, we understand our pattern. And yes, what happens even when it comes to, let's say, feedbacks, because these are some situations which can lead to conflict, that sometimes we are giving some feedback to someone, but when we are being given a similar feedback or similar input, are we going to embrace it, or are we going to disagree with it? And then when we know that, okay, these are certain situations, and let's say sometimes we all are having a conversation which is hard, to have a talk with, and which is not that easy. So now when we know our pattern, that okay, when we listen such things, how we are going to behave, when we talk about this, how we are going to behave, so how we can be emotionally intelligent. So you all can find, like, that something which you like, or something which makes you feel less than empowered, or which makes you feel disempowered. I'm just very mindful when I'm using these words, because as Judith Glazer says that words create the worlds. So everything which you are feeding into your own mind, this is going to determine your pattern, and this can of course bring the impact into your working relations with other people also. Because when you are mindful about your words, you are not going to use any negative connotation word, let's say, and this is where you can be mindful about it. So once you know it, that okay, if a conflict is happening, then what you can do. So let's say sometimes, like, this is a situation which I go through, that if I'm having a one to one conversation with, like, one team member, it can be different. But and that is where we can be open, that okay, I agree with this point, I do not agree with this point, can you make this understand. But let's say now this person says something into a group setting, so that time now I need to choose, and I shall choose, that am I going to disagree right away, or shall I have a one to one discussion with that person? Because now, of course, there are 10 people, and they are going to comprehend our discussion differently then. So it is good that we make the choice. So it's about always making the choice, that what you want to do and at what time you want to do it that way. So this is how, like, I'm choosing, no matter what that person has said into like, a group sitting. We Unless, like, it depends that you want to give the clarity, but how you can have that, like, how you are going to build your dialogue that time, so you can be mindful about it. So yes, and then there are certain statements which I'm going to share with you, and that is what, like, we call them as our like, these agreement statements. That if someone is saying something, so either you are going to say that yes, I agree with you, and I want to add that this is how we can, like, consider this other alternative too. So that can be one statement. But now other statement is, if some person has given one solution to a problem, and I say that I agree, but I don't think so that this is going to happen, or this is viable. So now what I did when I use this word but, so I simply, like, I say that I agree, but, so that means I didn't agree that everything which you said. So that means I didn't make that person feel respectable. So we can avoid using this word, that but, or like, these ways, that however, these kinds of words. So rather we can say that yes, I hear you, I listen you, and I want to add, and is it all right if I add something? So we can always, like, ask a permission, so that that person feels like, to be listened, rather that his idea or her idea is being not listened, or is being simply dismissed. And then there are statements like, it doesn't serve. If we are having a conflict, then we can talk about certain situations and these certain statements, that look, we are having a conflict, but it doesn't serve you, and it is not going to serve me, because we are having bigger goals. And that is where we shall think about, and then let's have a discussion, that how we can find a way, that where we are, like, we are putting our opinions on the table. So yes, anyone wants to share any situation, and that is towards the closing of my session. And yeah, so Madhvi, you can let me know that if we are having, like, time, or I think we are on time totally, or any other admin
Yeah.
member.
No, I guess, I mean, yeah, we are on time. We can take question and answers, not a problem. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So if anyone wants to share any situation regarding the conflict or how to manage it, so please share your question, and I'm happy to help.
I don't really have a question, Madeeha, but I'm really thankful that you shared this topic about conflict management in NLP, because yes, I agree that conflicts are good, as it makes our life more interesting, allowing us to see, the different sides and learn more, explore things, and also which in turn leads to the better outcomes. And yeah, conflict management goes a long way in strengthening bonds. Thanks for picking up this topic. It was quite interesting to hear from you. And
Thanks, Rania. I hope
Yeah,
I pronounce your name correctly too. So
yes, you
thanks for
did.
your input.
yeah.
Thanks.
Madia, I have a question. Like, what is
Yes, please.
the most challenging conflict you have faced in the Agile teams? And how did you
Okay.
manage to resolve the whole situation?
All right. Okay. So yes, I can share one example, and that happened too into this remote culture. So one of my team members, and it was, let's say, it was a silent conflict, we call it. So what happened? One of my team members, initially, like I was having certain, let's say, work deliveries, and they were not there. So I had a talk with that person, and we were just like using our online communication tools. So we were not talking; we were just like chatting. And after that person, okay, it happens once or twice. After that person, I said, okay, let's have a talk because I think it's about to discuss rather having a chat about it. But that person decided not to speak with me at all, and then I was like, okay, what to do. Now this person, because I knew and I came to know that this person is totally introvert, and that person doesn't talk much that way, and especially that person is not comfortable to talk about if there is a difference of opinions. So what I did, and there were some team members who knew that person already, and so then first I had a talk with one of them, because let's say, like, when I was talking that, okay, you always know someone in your team whom you can talk, and you know that like they are going to listen to you and you can share your situation. So I said, like, I want to make the effort, and now I'm making the effort, but the other person is not putting any effort, so my efforts are not going to be successful. So what we can do? So that person told me that, all right, like, give that person time and then we will see. So what we did, we simply, like, what I did after some days, because it was not impacting the work, but it was mainly about our working relation, because of course otherwise this situation could happen again in future. So what I did, I sent that person a message, like, just being into this very empowering like, discussion. I shared with that person and I said, okay, like, something happened, it's all right, now we can move forward. And yeah, and like that way, this is how we did, and eventually it worked. So then everything was good. And because that person was not comfortable, so sometimes we are, like, having these difficult situations that where we are making effort, and like, because that person kept delivering the work, but then he was not ready to talk. So that was all right. And after that, like, what I did, that whenever that person is doing well, I'm sending, like, this appreciation to that person, because that is what I do with all the team members. So that is what I also did. And eventually, yes, when it came the time that I I was supposed to get the peer feedback. And I asked that person also that, would you be willing to give it to me? And yes, then that person shared it. And that was like, this, the genuine feedback accordingly. That despite whatsoever situation we started on and what happened, eventually, like, we settled it that way. So in a nice way. So this is how it happened. Yes. So yeah, different conflicts keep happening. It's about, like, let's say that what is the magnitude of that conflict, it of course depends. So yeah, but it's about that now when you are into the situation, because I had no option to speak to that person. So but still I wanted to have my team's energy, so I spoke to, like, other co-lead into my team, that okay, this is the situation. And what we did initially in those days, let's say 2 3 days, only that co-lead was talking to that person, so because I wanted to give that person the time to process the whole situation. And this is why in start of my talk, I asked that, like, either you are introvert or you are extrovert, or like, because everyone is having their own ways to process a situation. Some people, let's say, if you were into a conflict or into a, let's say, heated argument, you will be fine into the next meeting in 1 hour, but some person will take 1 day to come out of it. And then it's all right, we can give that time, and this is how we can understand our team members and our team dynamics. Yeah.
So, have you seen any agile teams with no conflicts at all? Very ideal teams.
Yes, I think that is very ideal. That is very ideal. And now I can say this is my team also, that there are no conflicts at all, because now we build this, of course, this trust. that where we all can share different opinions, and we can embrace that. And so that's the trust we all enjoy. And I recently even covered this, like, one session, that how you can have this very thriving team culture into a remote setup, and that too in COVID times. So this is like, this is my latest example, which I'm sharing with all of you here. And this is what I even covered earlier, that this is how we started. And it was about, let's say, this, like, when we talk about these forming and norming stages of the team and eventually start performing. So this happens. And when we say that, okay, conflict cannot happen in any team, I think that is too ideal, or that is like,
Absolutely.
like, initially it is not realistic. But yes, eventually when you are building a team, and where you know that, okay, this is your team, then yes, eventually you can lead to that stage. But initially conflicts, like, can happen. And I think they shall be happen, because then you can understand your team members. So okay, I see a question. Yeah. I hope it
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah, there was one last question from
Sure,
Sheila. I'll
please.
just read off the question. Have you
Yes,
worked with
yes.
global teams, which you just and yeah, you did explain how you had experience with conflicts with people in different parts of the world, that it's hard to tell it's cultural or
Or
just
just exhaustion.
exhaustion.
Okay, so yes, I am working with, like, with teams since 2016 across different regions, across, let's say, whether it's remote or whether it's we were co-located, and we were representing six different countries and six different cultures. Even when we were co-located, and it is not the same. Let's say whether you are co-located, and let's say if you are like, having this same culture background, and you are still sitting into six countries. So I have been through all those situations and experienced it. And yes, sometimes it is culture and sometimes it's exhaustion. It is not hard to tell, I think, eventually, because when you are putting the effort. And from last year, when, like, since this COVID has happened, I think more than my team meetings, I did like, my one-to-one meetings. And so this is how. And eventually, if you go and talk to, like, these team members with whom I have been working. So yes, eventually, like, what we did, we got this, like, immediate feedbacks after 3 months, 6 months. And it was not necessary that it's a 3 months or 6 months, like, these time bound. But what we did, we are getting the feedback. If like, there is a situation. So every week we are having our like, calls. And then we are talking about it, that okay, like, what happened, what we can improve, and what is the difference. And it's about communication, that we like, we are not having any gap. And yes, sometimes what happened, this is what happened into the remote culture. And in last 1 year, that I just had with some team member. And then I'm seeing, like, some other communication. And I said, what happened? So that's it. Like, okay, Madhya, because I was not having time to tell you that I spoke to another person and the situation changed, and now I'm working on that situation. So now I had two choices. Like, either I could be into a very disempowering state, and I wouldn't be, like, treating the situation nicely or speaking to that person that way. But then I decided that I shall ask that what change, because we decided a certain, let's say, a situation or solution. But now you are doing it in a different way, so may I know why are you doing it different way? So rather that, why, how could you do it? So now this was a choice, that what kind of conversation I'm having with my team members. And it's not about, like, okay, are my team members my peers, or are they reporting to me? Or they can be the team members, let's say, like, even my own managers. So it's about that, what is the way you are having the conversation with, like, people. So it's not about then the title that who is having. But yes, we are respecting everyone equally. If someone is far more experienced, if someone is, like, yet a young, let's say, graduate, or young in terms of the experience. So this is how we are managing it. Because only then, like, you can lead with compassion and empathy, and you do not need to be into the leader title or position to lead the team. So everyone can be the leader.
You mentioned that you're having one-on-ones. Are you,
Yes.
are your team having one-on-ones with each other, or are they just having one-on-ones with you?
They also have it another. So this is like, this team culture we have set up, that if you want to have a talk with like each other, you can have it. If you want to talk, because that comes into my role also, that where I am like managing a team, so then I'm having a talk one to one with all of them. And at the peer level, we all have a one to one talk. Even I'm having a talk with my peers, my team members are having talk with each other. And it was about that, to understand each other. And especially only when, let's say, a difficult situation is happening. So yeah, so that is relative that way, that like that who is having what conversation with whom that way. But yes, so this is how we encourage that. It's about putting the focus on communication. Do not assume. And now we all learn that yes, many of us were like I think we all like somehow we carry a baggage. And it depends on what kind of baggage it is, right? And because now what happened this month, the last month, half of my team, like some of them were exposed to COVID, some of their families were exposed to COVID. So then they were not available for the work. And that is where we had to understand. And what happened, one of my colleague had like accident in his family. And that day, that person, it was not about performing well, but what happened, like that person was not fully focused. And rather, like he made a mistake. And but then he was ready to own it. So, and of course we knew that okay, he's into a difficult situation. Then and then he came to us, and he said that I feel I cannot focus on work and I'm going to make more mistakes. So can I take the like whole day, whole like 2-3 days off? And then that is what we said, that yes, definitely. And so, and we appreciated his honesty, that and this transparency, that this person is open about it. He said, I cannot mentally focus. Even if I'm available, yes, I can be available. And but I'm mentally very upset. So then we said it's all right, and it is good that rather you are taking off. And in that time, we all are supporting each other. So like we can manage the work, and it's okay. So now this is the culture, like which we are glad that we have fostered into our team also. So yes, I think I will be, yeah, if there are any questions, and you also like all can have your notes that way, that what is the key takeaway. And when I say taking the notes, it is a note which you can like just take into your own mind that way.
I, thank you, Madeeha, again. I think we are okay with the questions. There are no more questions, but yeah, Brittany, Culture Map by Erin Meyer is a good book for those who want to have read at it as well.
Sure, sure. Yes. Thank you, Brittany, for sharing. And thank you, Sonia. And thanks
Yeah,
also. If you want to connect with me, I'm on LinkedIn also. And if you want to email me, you can email like, on my email ID. So this is houseofpassion.co@gmail.com, because that is my like, this one independent initiative which I'm doing, being a coach and trainer. So
thanks
thank you
again,
all, and all the
Madeeha.
examples, yeah, which I have shared with all of you. So these are like, out of my work and the multiple initiatives which I have been doing. Yeah. So this is a disclaimer I wanted to add. Thank you so much again, and have a good day.